Hi guys, welcome back. I'm back with another episode of Scout Watch this time, and the game that we're gonna be looking at was the Europa League game that took place between Inter Milan and Eintracht Frankfurt. It's the second leg. Frankfurt won that game 1-0, and it was a great game. Frankfurt are unbeaten in the Europa League. They're only the second team unbeaten along with Chelsea, and it was just a bad night for Inter, and it got worse, and they're now out of the Europa League. And to pick out some of the players that did well in the game, for me, obviously the goal scorer Luka Jovic, 20 years old, Serbian player. He was just top class on the night. Frankfurt, they play in a 3-5-2. As you can see on your screen, the 3-5-2 formation, Jovic and Haller were up top, and both were really excellent, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And Inter also, well, they didn't really offer anything much. Now, going into it, I did expect Inter to maybe nick it because they had the advantage. It was 0-0 from the first leg. So at the Giuseppe Meazza, you would have to say a 1-0 would have done for Inter. So, people would have backed Inter. But Eintracht Frankfurt, they're not a sleeping matter. They're not a small dog. They're really up there. They're really there challenging. They won the German Cup last year. They're fifth in the league currently in the Bundesliga. And as of right now, they're the only German team represented Germany in the Europa competition or in the Champions League. So that tells you how proud they are of themselves, of making it and being the only German representative. Moving on, for me, obviously, people are going to talk about Jovic. The fact that he's linked with Barcelona makes him even more popular. But also another player that really stood out is Sebastian Haller. He's a French player. He's brilliant. He is tall, great physical attributes. His link-up play was really good. And for someone that tall, he has great pace and great footwork to match as well. Towards the end, there were a few skills where he won Frankfurt a free kick and just really bamboozled Milan Skriniar, and it was really good footwork. And for someone that tall and someone that fast, he has really good footwork. Also, for me, another player that stood out is another Serbian player, and that is Filip Kostic. He was signed this season by Hamburg for 14 million, by Frankfurt from Hamburg, for 14 million, and he played really well. He was the number 10 at Frankfurt, and he had a really, really good game against Inter Milan in the second leg. Completely dominated that side. He plays as a left wing back, and completely dominated his side against D'Ambrosio, and completely dominated. And from Inter, I have to say, no one really stood out. The only one that did for me was Handanovic. Now, Samir Handanovic is a top goalkeeper. He's been a top goalkeeper for a while. He's been at Inter forever. He's practically an Inter legend, if you ask me. And he's just one of those players, when you ask someone or you hear someone talk about who the best goalkeepers are, they very rarely mention Samir Handanovic. They talk about De Gea, they talk about Neuer, they talk about many other goalkeepers, but they rarely talk about Samir Handanovic. And for me, I think Handanovic definitely comes in the list of top goalkeepers when you want to put people in like Alisson and all these guys. For me, Handanovic is a top keeper, and the scoreline could have been 3 or 4-0 had it not been for Samir Handanovic. Some world-class saves on the night. He got lucky with one early shot from Haller, which was a very easy chance, and unfortunately Haller hit the crossbar with it from about 3 or 4 yards out. So he did get lucky with that one, but throughout the night, he was the shining light for Inter. He got a rating of around 7.5, and overall played really well. Had the captain's armband after Icardi, so it's really good from him. And the other player that for me did reasonably well for an Inter team that really had nothing to offer on the night was Milan Skriniar. He's also a Serbian player. He is wanted by Manchester United, and he played really well. Had great mentality to keep in mind the scoreline of the game, because he knew that they needed to be sharp in the transitions and not allow Frankfurt to get that second goal. And therefore, it was very important for Milan Skriniar to play well. He also had a shot. He could have scored. Had a shot that went just wide, deflected off a defender, Hasebi, I think it was, of Frankfurt. And all in all, it was just a good performance from him as well. And for those that were watching, for the real scouts that were watching, I'm sure they will look at him and say, you know what, he has the mentality to play at a bigger club in a bigger league, maybe La Liga or maybe Premier League. So that's one to look out for. As for the other players in Frankfurt, there were some good players who had glimpses. Sebastian Rode, former Bayern Munich and former Dortmund player, really showed that he's finding his feet again, and playing from box to box, and he was really good. And another player who was also very good was the 16-year-old that came on for Inter, Esposito. Now, he wasn't really good, but he was good in terms of, when you consider his touches and his movement, he had a lot to offer, and was something of a bright light for Inter, considering Icardi suspended. And for me, one of the most consistent players for Inter who had a shocking night was De Vrij. Made one mistake, but the most important mistake, and ultimately it cost Inter, because they were out of the Champions League. Although he is a consistent player, he's a Dutch international, just did not make it work on the night, and unfortunately he conceded. It was his fault. That's it for Scout Watch. I will also be looking at the big derby tomorrow, Inter Milan versus AC Milan. We'll have a Scout Watch on that. And so thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, see you.